Hey, Shane McMurray from the Wedding Report. In this episode, I speak with Erik from NJWedding.com. Erik is quite unique because he serves both couples getting married and those that work in the wedding business, so hope you enjoy. I don't really have a set of questions that I was going to ask you,
Okay.
only because, as a bit, particularly for you, you actually are a little bit different than a regular business that works in the space because you actually serve both couples and businesses.
Right.
So you kind of got your finger on the pulse of both of those. So actually, I'd like to talk about both of those, and then but first, let's talk about njwedding.com and who you are and what you do, and share that with everyone. How about
Oh,
that?
sure. Thank you, Shane. Well, first of all, it's nice. We've known each other for many, many years
Yes.
and kind of grown up in the industry together. So we're going into our 23rd year of publishing
Wow. 23 years?
NJWedding.com.
Wow,
Yep.
Eric, that's awesome, man. Congratulations.
So thanks. So my wife, Beth, and I thought of this basically in the mid-90s. We planned our wedding and we got married in 1994. So in a nutshell, we had this idea as the internet started to become a medium in which people were looking for different things and services and ideas. We said, wait, we can apply what we learned from planning our wedding and have a business together. And we started to get some good ideas from that, some good feedback. I was working in the space of marketing for a local newspaper. She was managing a business office for accounting. So we had our heads together for the business. And
Nice.
the quick story is, just to give it some context, is we didn't know much about the internet back in 1995. And we went up to see some friends who were living in Boston. They were going to MIT for graduate work. And they were using this thing called the internet to actually plan their wedding in New Jersey the following summer.
Wow. Yeah,
So
because
they
the
gave
internet,
us,
yeah, back then, I mean, in 95, 96,
yeah,
it was really new territory there.
it was. And it was exciting because we were just in our mid-20s or so and looking for something to apply some knowledge. And it just kind of got caught up in the idea of the excitement of it.
Yeah,
So we tried to
sure.
put our head together and registered NJWedding.com, registered NJWeddings.com. So we have both domains
Right.
and some others. You and I could talk about domain
Yeah,
ownership.
forever. Yeah.
You have to make it a valuable entity. And so we saw some value in that because we wanted to aggregate vendors, one that we knew about, and then realize that there were so many vendors in this one market of New Jersey that would pretty much keep us busy. But maybe we could expand upon that in the future to other markets. So fast forward 23 years later, we're still in New Jersey, we're still keeping busy, and we're still serving, the local region, to give you a sense of how much, goes on in the
Yeah.
marketplace.
Yeah, that's
I
awesome.
will credit you, Shane, because you keep me up to date. Yes,
Thanks.
yes. You can quote me on this, but you and the Wedding Report keep us up to date on what's going on in terms of the marketplace, in terms of the statistics, in terms of the engagements, which I've been sharing this past season. I think it's 68,000 engagements in New Jersey or so, based on your report. So with that kind of a volume, we know that there's, X number of weddings that are taking place.
Yep.
I don't really know the number of vendors in the space because it's hard to gauge. And I think you and I have talked
It
about
is
that.
hard to gauge. The problem is that lots of different people can be vendors in this space, right?
Mhm.
It doesn't have to be, there's no set thing, right, anymore, right? There's no set venue, there's no set whatever. I mean, Chick-fil-A's catering these days. So could they be your
Oh,
caterer? Absolutely.
sure.
Could be,
You can even
right?
go more and more
Yeah,
into
yeah.
fast food and
I
any
mean,
type of idea.
pretty soon Burger King's probably catering, right? I mean, you know what I mean? It's just,
Yeah.
it depends on what people want. People want different things. So, yeah.
That's true. And that's a trend that you've seen over X amount of years, because the fact is there's no such thing as cookie cutter weddings.
Nope.
if a couple likes one particular vendor, they want to go to a bowling alley, they want to go to a VFW.
Absolutely.
There's so much opportunity out there, and why not?
It's
It,
love, man. You can do whatever you want, right?
yeah. So I mean, you and I track it.
Yeah.
I try to keep in touch with what goes on, how to keep my finger on the pulse of the industry locally and nationally through you, and just by reading and understanding what the trends are.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's personalized. It's all what they feel. It's understanding millennials and eco boomers and all the things that we talked about over the years.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what they're actually doing.
Yeah. So if couples want to check you out, go to NJWedding.com.
NJWedding.com is our main
All right.
entry into the site, and they can search for, I think, up to almost 40 or more categories of
Nice.
services in different areas by zip code. We also have content sections like photo galleries, videos, articles, and blogs.
Yeah, I noticed
And
you've
then
been
also,
posting more on social media, so I see a lot of your stuff that you're posting out there. It's great.
oh yeah, that's good. Well, social media is big. What would you say, like the last 7 to 10 years have really exploded in terms of
Yeah.
Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest. We also have a big events calendar because people will still go to bridal shows.
Yep, they do.
In fact, there's some big ones coming up this weekend that
Nice.
we're starting out sponsoring and exhibiting. And so this is the first, as of tomorrow, I'll be fully immersed in the.
Right, like it's starting now, right? Like this is season, right?
Yeah, it is. It's
Yeah,
nice to take
awesome.
a break, be with the family, and from now on, I know at least the next 2-3 months will be pretty much every week and every weekend.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
So since you have your pulse on both, let's talk about both of those. So let's talk about couples for a second, and I mean, what do you think is for couples that you run into, that you talk to vendors with about what's working for them right now? Like how the planning process is complex, right? So what's working for them right now that you see in your area?
It's an interesting question because the answer changes over time. In the beginning, if I can reference a point back to my
Yeah.
time, our time, we we would look in the yellow pages and newspapers and see what came across the marketplace and who's out there. Excuse me. So I would say now people are asking friends and family who they use in their recommendations.
Yeah.
They're going online to back up that. So for example, if they heard about a vendor and then they see it in a magazine, on Instagram, on websites, on national directories and local directories, they kind of get more and more familiar with it. That makes sense?
Yeah, yeah.
So maybe they'll put the inquiry in to go and see it. But right now they can go online. So they can see videos of the vendors, speaking of like banquet facilities,
Yeah.
venues, they can go take virtual tours. So I think the process has changed in which they can hear about it. They can, they're not going to do the traditional look in the newspapers, look in the magazines primarily, but they are going to use online first. And I say that with a caveat because I come from the print publication background. That's what was my background in marketing and advertising, local newspapers, local magazines. So I say magazines are a big part of what people are using still today, but it's a supplement to what they're doing first. I don't think they're going to the print publications first unless they go to visit maybe a bookstore or a show.
Right.
Well, they'll pick
Yeah,
up
and then they get something handed out to them, and then they kind of look through it. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
And I just want to be clear in terms of saying that. Like, I don't mean to say the magazines are sub anything. I think they're a very good source. But I think the interactivity of an online directory, and when they're reading reviews, they're looking at videos, they're looking at tours, interactive tours. They're getting a sense of through photo galleries of other couples that have been there and used them. I think it's a different experience. And that's one of the trends, is that people are looking for more experiential use of their time. So they're going to use other print publications as supplements to back up what they see.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's kind of.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Do you think that uh, people that work in the space are using online well enough? I mean, do you hear from couples that say, "Hey, look, there's not enough. I don't get enough from certain things, right? Like there's not enough videos, there's not enough virtual tours, there's not enough whatever, right? Like there's just some stuff, but it's just pictures, and but they want more, right? You feel
Yes,
like you're getting anything from them on like, hey, I want more of this specific thing?
that's a really good question, Shane, because I think we could serve the community for the next 20, 30, 40 years, and still there'll never be enough information
Yeah.
because everyone's needs are different. I get feedback specifically with positive experience about using our site, for example, because we try to make it simple.
Hmm.
But there's always the fact that they want more interactivity, and that's one of the things like I'm looking into from a directory standpoint, from a technical standpoint.
Yeah.
Do we want to have, I was going to say between you and I, but now between you and I and whoever is watching this, um, opportunities for them to reach out and send an inquiry in that will go to the vendor's phone and getting a text message,
Yeah.
or having some kind of a virtual conference call like you and I are having, where I can talk to you now about, you know, maybe I want to ask you questions up front. Well, now I can go right on. And I've seen this before, it's not nothing new.
You sure?
But
Yeah.
it's how you use the tools
But do
to
you think it's
better.
becoming the norm, right? Like I need instant feedback on a quote, or I need instant feedback to talk to someone to say, hey, look, I need an answer to this question, and I need you to respond right now, right? Or I'm going to
Right.
move on, right? You've lost me if you don't respond in 10 minutes.
Yeah. Like I'm thinking about this. I'm looking at you with your back, the backdrop of the guitars and stuff. And like if I want to make a phone call to the local um, music store to find out if they have a lesson available in 2 weeks, or a certain brand of guitar or piano that I'm looking for. Is there something in the future that I could just press a button and connect with them?
Sure.
Why not, right?
Yeah,
If
yeah,
they want to make themselves available, it's easier for me as a consumer and maybe our children, because they're used to this interactive tools like FaceTime with their
right,
friends, or
right.
Snapchat.
Yeah,
So it's an interesting premise. Like, I don't think you and I would maybe think of that first, but maybe it's just as easy as, well, I'm sitting here at my desk in my office, I can just click on something and reach out to find out what the local special is at the local pizza place, and say, have a little conversation with the guy who I know at the pizza place and say, can I just pick up a couple pepperoni pies at two o'clock
right.
today?
Yeah,
So the same premise, applies, where I feel comfortable speaking to a DJ or a makeup artist if I'm planning a wedding, where I can have them, answer some questions online in a live format like this, or have them get back to me right away through instant messaging or text messaging or something like that. So it becomes more of a interactive tool.
yeah. I think it's generational, right? Like, so
Mhm.
the generation now that you see moving into the marriage age, probably I'd say between 20 and 35 would be like the core age that is very interested in instant gratification. Like, you know, do you think that, I mean, I don't think businesses are planning to meet the need this way. I think they're still doing other things, but Um, I mean, do you see couples like asking, like, look, I mean, your pizza idea is great, right? Like, I mean, personally, I'm a tech guy, so I would rather just call the pizza place up and go, hey, can I order an XYZ, or be able to order it online pretty easily, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then have it just, it's done and delivered, or I go pick it up, right? Those things really make my life easier, but I don't think businesses are necessarily planning to work in that way. Or at least I haven't seen them do it yet.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen them really planning to work in this way?
I will say that based on my knowledge of the local industry, people that are very good at that are DJs,
Okay.
maybe photographers to a certain degree, but I think the DJs are very technically oriented.
Yeah.
And I've seen them over the years use technology like this where they have some kind of an opportunity
Yeah. They
for
get
a
it, right?
couple.
They get it. The times are changing, man. I need to be able to interact with people quickly and be able
Right.
to talk.
I'm kind of amazed. It's it's time is a very valuable commodity in a lot of ways. But
Yeah.
if over the years I've seen that, like in the past, like in the mid '90s, I remember, the idea of a DJ coming to our apartment at the
Yeah.
time, and and
Okay.
having a little presentation, or meeting them in a
Yeah.
studio, or a main area, like a conference room or something where they can present. Now, others in our industry, there are a lot of beauty consultants who will travel, or photographers or officiants who will meet couples anywhere in a diner or
Yeah.
coffee house. But the convenience of being able to go one-on-one, if a couple, like if it was two chairs and a couple was sitting here and you were the DJ, telling us about your service and asking, what kind of questions I can answer.
Hmm.
That's what it's all about. It's about,
Yeah. Showing you a couple videos and a couple of
yeah,
examples
like
and
interactive videos where you can
yeah.
show, like,
Yeah.
I'm going to show you something right now. Okay. And I hit a button and all of a sudden something comes on,
Yeah.
and then you say, what'd you think of that?
Yeah.
Was that what you're looking for? If not, let me show you something else.
Yes.
And
Exactly. Yeah.
take up another, 20 minutes of their time. And then they can press a button. If they say, yes, if you're interested, you can sign up here. Or I'm just kind of, you
Yeah.
know,
Well, so that's if you get them to meet with you, right?
right.
I'm talking about the prior to even meeting with them,
Okay.
the interaction of businesses. And I mean, before the transaction actually happens, I think businesses are missing out on the opportunity to communicate and connect quickly with people, because people, especially between 20 and 35, are expecting instant communication, right? I mean, think about how they're programmed right now with their phones and
Right.
text messaging and Snapchat. And, my daughter, who's 25, who, if I don't reply back to her from a text message right away, she's like, what's up? You
Yeah.
need me, or, that kind
Right.
of thing. So I don't know. It just seems like I, and I see businesses are very constrained, because there's a lot of stuff going on for a business, right? So
Yes.
you have financials and things like this. So people are constrained to have enough people to meet some of these demands. So I think technology really helps them kind of transition some of those things, but I just don't see enough businesses doing it. I was wondering, if kind of, do you see them, not the meeting part, but the prior, like the communications part, just getting the communication out? Is that happening?
Wow, this is interesting. You just spawned a couple of ideas. I think communication is so important. My wife and I were communication majors at Rutgers, and that was our experience of how to use that in marketing or use that in everyday life.
Yeah.
Uh, and I often get into a conversation with, this is kind of a side note, but in the idea of doing business, when you do business with people over time, you develop a business and like a relationship and a like a consumer who will shop with you or refer to you, or keep your business going basically because they've done business with you before.
Hmm.
So I'm amazed at how many businesses don't keep a good database of their customers in the past, or at least may not reach out to them enough. And that's something that I think takes time. It takes strategy. It takes technical ability to know that this business. I mean, I've read a lot of books in the past, and when we started this business, it was an interesting idea of what we're going to do differently, how we're going to structure our business, and the main thing was that these are customers for life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the title of a book I read many years ago. But the premise is that if I take the time to work with a client, specifically in the wedding community that I
Yeah.
want to keep as a customer, I want to keep in touch with that business in many ways throughout the year. And if they're a customer currently, let them know about other opportunities or things that they may be interested in the marketplace as a whole.
Well, I mean, they grow as a family, right? So things happen family wise. Other things happen in life.
Yeah,
your kids, your parents, and
right.
all those things. So yeah, there's opportunity everywhere.
Always, and it's keeping up with that. So
Yeah,
one aspect of that is keeping a good database and thinking of the outreach. Every once in a while to say hello and how are you, and here's a few ideas that you may want to consider. Here's a few things that you may want to go to, whether it's a seminar
hmm
and that's as business people, we want to make sure that that's important so that they understand.
yeah. I find that businesses don't tend to keep enough information as well. Like they don't collect information about the customer,
Oh yeah,
and they, it's a passing thing, right? Like I get the business and I just kind of move on.
right.
So
It's not a one-time thing. It's not a.
yeah,
It's an that I would hope that this is a goal for them to, especially in the event business that they're all in. A wedding is, yes, it should be a one-time event,
yeah,
and ideally, when the couple stays together, they've developed family and friends that will then refer
yeah.
others to you. But then when they have families, and if I may, I'm going to put a little plug in to our
Sure.
new website.
Yeah, go for it.
We did, after 22 years, decide to launch NJParenting.com,
Nice.
which is the whole idea of having baby showers, first communions,
Yeah.
sweet 16s, bar bat mitzvahs, quinceaneras, and
hmm
other lifetime or milestone events
Yeah.
on that website. So
That's
we
nice.
want to kind of understand that. So, and I see that DJs have a market for birthday parties and sweet 16s and such, and so do makeup artists, and so do event planners and decor
Well, all of
decorators.
them really, right? I mean,
Yeah,
um,
some specialize in weddings.
yeah, some specialize in weddings, but there's opportunities in those events as well. In fact, the wedding space is crowded and it's pretty stagnant from a growth perspective. So you have to look for other opportunities. Um,
Yep.
I think the really successful businesses do pay attention to the fact that, look, if I get a wedding customer, they're a customer for life, and they're an opportunity to reach out to other people. So let me do my best job, and
Right.
that way you have other opportunities in the future, not just weddings, right?
And I think that happens naturally. I mean, whether it's uh, a cognitive thing or not, many people who are really good at what they do,
It does.
they love their customers. The customers rave about them. They refer
Yep.
them, whether they keep them in a database or not. They just
Yeah.
are successful because of that.
Yeah.
And that's actually the fun part of our business. When I see at a bridal show or industry event, or people that I've known for years, or people that are just starting out, or they're just so passionate. And that's what's interesting about our industry that we've been serving for so many years, is that there are people who are just out there to serve their customers, whether it's an officiant or entertainer or photographer. It's not always about the money and growing the business and having a huge staff. It's about doing what they're kind of born to do.
Yeah. What they love, right? I mean, it's
Yeah,
a
and
passion
they
for
really
them. Yeah.
enjoy it.
Agreed.
As marketers, we think, how can we apply that?
Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
as tech people or stats people, they say, well, those are people that are helping you in these different ways, and they may not realize it, but they're doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's go back to couples for a second. We
Mhm.
talked about like what's working for them. What do you think is not working for couples right now? Like, what do you think the biggest struggles are having with either finding people or working through budgets or whatever it is? I mean, what are the things that you see that you're in your space that couples are struggling with the most?
That's another good question, because times change and they fluctuate. Um, I would, based on your research as well, New Jersey and the New York area and the Philadelphia area are
Yeah,
three of the highest, you know,
yeah, for sure.
regions as
Yeah,
far as the cost of weddings. Can
yeah,
we can
that's
we
for sure.
agree to that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Um,
I'm talking to the main guy who's told me all these years.
yep.
That's what we expect. So, to be honest, yes, because we have all these creative people, we have these areas in demand, in terms of the market, that have venues that are new or renovated or exquisite or luxurious, or even, I'm not gonna say the opposite, but the alternate is rustic, the barns and the farms and the outdoor areas that have been developed for weddings over the last several years, and that can go on. Every opportunity to develop an area or a restaurant or a park or an old barn or historic area into a space for weddings and events is being used because the demand is so high.
Nice.
So it's consistent. But getting to your point, it's maybe, and I can't say this because I don't know offhand, but the money, the cost of producing a wedding that many people do want to emulate.
Yeah.
And I say emulate because that's what they see every weekend.
Sure, yeah.
It's these, the indoor sparklers, and it's the dancing in the clouds, and it's the big bridal parties, and all the formal wear, and that's all has been part of the wedding industry for a long time.
Yeah.
So it's, what is the challenge for the couples? It's, to be really quite frank, figuring out what they want. If they want to have a wedding with 300 guests, we've got a lot of places in the New Jersey, New York, tri-state area that can do that. But this is what it's going to cost.
Yeah.
You're going to be, using the best floral designers and decorators, and you name it. It's going to be the top of the line.
Yeah.
Or if you want to elope and get married in a small restaurant, or have a photographer and a handful of friends, that's possible too. It's marriage.
Yeah.
Marriage is the key point, and it's how you celebrate that differentiates what you spend.
Yeah.
And either is fine. There's no judgment, because you're marrying the person that you love, and you're celebrating that love and marriage together. That's the bottom line. But it's just, we know that there's around 45,000 or so weddings that take place in New Jersey. There are several places to accommodate them.
Yeah, that's good.
So
yeah, good.
I hear about it all.
Do you see so from the vendor side, do you see a lot more competition and various different things? I mean, I've noticed over the past few years, venues have really stepped up the game.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of places are converting, like you said, over to have event wedding space.
Right.
And people are really doing. I mean, you would think that the market is growing substantially for them, all these businesses to do this, but I think this makes it challenging in the future because there's going to be all this competition. But a lot of venue spaces or locations are converting events and wedding space. You see that as well there?
Sure. And I've been to a number of showcases, because I do that a lot throughout the year, where schools, no, I'm saying private schools, who are like in the Princeton area.
Yeah.
I went to a place where it's an old private school that has, a certain element of school functionality for their students, but then on the weekends, they have this gorgeous mansion available with beautiful rooms.
Wow.
And that's just part of, hey, let's put it out there for the public to use as space. They can either put a tent in the back area and have a beautiful ceremony, or they can use the inside space, but it's, mansions, it's historic homes.
Yeah, historic, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Jersey Shore is a huge area for us specifically. We have over 120 miles of, shoreline.
Yep.
And that becomes a very, very high demand, especially during the spring, summer, fall timelines, and also off season, because you're by the beach. It's a beautiful setting, but there's been a lot of beautiful exclusive venues.
Nice.
Just events where people can stay there. We have developed regions of New Jersey, like Long Beach Island, like Cape May, like, the southern shore area, the northern parts of the Jersey Shore, and everywhere in between, because as I think of them, it becomes a real unique opportunity. So, there may be a premium for that, but it's something that, again, the couple wants. so they
Well, like
can.
you said, if it's what they want, then the opportunities are there. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to be cognizant of your time.
Okay. Thank you.
If so, for businesses, what would you say the biggest struggle? I mean, the thing for businesses that you've seen, what is the biggest problems, struggles that you've seen out there that people are struggling with right now, from a
Um,
business perspective?
from a business perspective, it's maintaining what you have and growing it. I would assume, only because that's an important aspect of business. You know, you want to grow, you don't want to lose business. And when I hear people are losing business, it doesn't have a good outcome.
Right.
So, people I've known that have been around the industry for 20, 30 years, for some reason, unfortunately, they're not adapting to the couples of today
Mm-hmm.
and what their needs are. So we touched a little bit on that. But it's so important to learn the tools like Instagram, to be aware. I mean, even like, the fact that Facebook was an important aspect 2 or 3 years, maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
In the last couple of years, Facebook is for people like you and I, like
Yeah.
it's the parents thing. That's not the kids.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And the kids are using different tools.
Well, they're using TikTok and Snapchat and Instagram and
Yeah.
stuff like that, right?
So, I mean, I have a couple, if I may, I'll say that I have a specific strategy when it comes to Instagram, because they're taking the time. Like, for example, when a bride follows us, or when a vendor, someone that's involved in the wedding industry
Mm-hmm.
locally, follows us, that's an opportunity
Yep.
for me to connect with them.
Absolutely.
So I'm finding ways to do that.
That's great.
So I'd recommend others to, not just put yourself out there and be followed on these different platforms. It's, using each platform. For example, if we'll stick on Facebook for a second.
Yeah.
If you do a post on Facebook and it gets a lot of traffic from new people, or you boost it, or you advertise on Facebook, that's
Mm-hmm.
another thing that we've tried to do over the years, is advertise on Facebook, Instagram, Google, some other platforms, so that you can get these new followers.
Yeah.
When they click in and they like your posts, and hopefully you share several posts during the week and you can get some activity going. When you see who visited your page, or see who liked your posts, there's a little thing there. There's a button that says invite. Do you notice that?
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah.
So those, like, if I've spoken at different associations in the past, and this is like a couple tidbits of information where you're spending time to either advertise on Facebook or post something important, whether it's a series of pictures or one picture
Mm-hmm.
showing your work or your past couple, and you get 10 people to like it. Don't go to the next one so quickly.
Yeah.
Before you see who liked that, and if they don't belong to your page, you can actually send them a request to like your page.
Well, and what if you reached out to them too and say, "Hey, thanks for liking my post," or just interact, right? I mean, it's a social platform, right?
It's a social. That's a great idea. And Facebook, I think it's a little bit more cumbersome on
Sure.
Facebook, because you don't need to become friends with them on Facebook yet necessarily.
Yeah.
So I've found that on Instagram, when they follow, because all they do is follow you on Instagram, and then you have an ability to message them.
Yeah.
You have a little bit of a templated thing that you can say, and just say, "Hey, thanks so much for following us, and here's a link to the website. Here's a little bit more information about what we can do for you. What is it that you're looking for?"
Yeah.
And if it's a bride to be that's liking a DJ service, and all of a sudden this DJ sends them a little note that says, "Hey, we would be happy to meet with you, or FaceTime with you," or, because that's all possible, as we were
Yeah.
talking about in the beginning. Now there's an interactivity there, and like you said, it's a social engagement.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's the spending the time engaging with people, right?
Yeah.
In that platform. It's not. I think a lot of times, and I'm guilty of this too, is you just put stuff out there
Right.
and you don't interact with the people that have liked it or commented or whatever. You're just putting it out there. I mean, some
Yeah.
people are so busy. I mean, it's
Mhm.
impossible. But nevertheless, I mean, I'm going to make it a priority for me myself this year. Really, is to, if people comment or ask questions, I want to be engaged with them, right? And make
Yeah.
sure that I either understand what they're asking me or what they're commenting about, and then be more engaged with other folks online, right? I mean, it's just that you need to be.
And you know what? It's one at a time. You know, like I said, that book that I read in the beginning, back in the mid '90s, was Customers for Life,
Yeah,
because I realized that there's a value in treating someone not as a one-time customer, not as a just someone who's a casual user, but they can. I've actually made so many nice relationships over the years just by being available to answer a question.
yeah.
And you never know where that's going to go.
Well, it's about human, right? So people are humans. We're all humans, right? So
That's
let's
right.
just be human with one another, right?
Yeah.
You know,
In,
whether
in
you
fact,
become a customer of mine or not, it doesn't matter. Let's just
right.
let's interact and have a
Yeah.
conversation.
I mean that's true, Shane. It's a goal to have them as a customer, but you can't serve everyone or please
Yeah,
everyone. So if you made
absolutely.
the opportunity to interact, a pleasant one, then it's a positive
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Incidentally, I just added something to our homepage of our website that is like one of those interactive tools that says, "How can I help you?"
yeah.
or "What is it you're looking for?" And I've gotten some inquiries. We just launched it last week,
Nice.
and I get some really interesting requests. But it's already ended up that we've been able to serve some people and help
Hey,
our clients to
yeah,
connect with more people too.
there you go. That
So
helps.
yeah,
That's
it's all
great.
good.
Yeah, yeah. All right, Eric, thanks, man. Appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Thanks for
Go
having me.
ahead. Hey, thanks for checking out this episode. I hope that you found it helpful. Please share it with other people. Also, if you're getting married or you work in the wedding industry, I would love to interview and share your information with other people. Send me a text 520-399-8580 or shoot me an email at letschat@wedding.report.